Welcome back, friends. If you've been following along with our renovation journeys on this 1830s farmhouse for a while, you will know that the highlight of our year is when my dad comes to visit from Iowa. So much gets done while Dad is here that we've taken to calling them Dad Days. We were really lucky that my dad came twice last year for Dad Days 1 and 2, and he also came this year in April for Dad Days 3. And as usual, so much more gets done while he's here than at any other time of the year. So grab a cup of your favorite beverage and join us for Dad Days 2026. Dad arrived a couple hours ago and is already ready to start working. I believe the plan is to do some weed whacking, specifically around our maples so that we can actually get in there. There's quite a lot of rain in the forecast, so it's too nice a day not to take advantage of the outdoor weather. That's looking better already. So much neater and tidier. Good morning, friends. Today, Days 3, official day 1. This is your before shot of the basement stair railing as it was when we moved into the house. And as you can tell, the basement stair railing does not come all the way up. In fact, it starts about step 3 or 4, which means that getting down the first 3 stairs or getting up the last 3 stairs with the door, especially when one is trying to keep the cat from going through, is a little bit hinky without something to hold on to. So, since it's raining outside, Dad is going to tackle this project first. But first, a side quest. As you can see, there are quite a lot of nails on the underside of these stairs. We assume people were hanging tools, etc. from them. We are not hanging tools from them, and although I am too short for them to matter, the aesthetic is not great. So before we get started on the railing, Dad is doing us the very great service of taking out all of these nails. And are the nails actually old, or are they just gross?
They're just gross. They're not old. They're not historic.
That looks pretty good. I don't see anything else from up here. That looks pretty clean.
I'm going to leave this piece here and then just go up from here. The biggest thing is where do I put the brackets for holding the new rail? And I might have to put one on top.
Okay.
So you might have 2 level.
Oh, I see.
So if I put one here.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one up here somewhere.
And then the other one up there someplace.
One of the reasons that I wanted to rebuild an old house is that stewardship and conservation of materials is really important to me. So I was very excited that we were able to reuse this gold board from, I think, an old bed frame. Unfortunately, the screws that came with the stair rail mount were too long for the board. On the upside, we got to reuse something from this giant box of screws. Unfortunately, the new screws split the wood. Is it the nature of the wood or the fact that we're doing it too close to the end?
Edge. I might have to take that other piece I had first because it's wider and do the same thing, cut a notch.
I see. In order to get that board to fit behind the framing up at the top of the stairs, we have to cut a notch in the support board. Unfortunately, Dad did not bring the tools to do that in an optimal fashion, and we did not have one either. So both the gold board, which we ended up discarding, and this one that he's working on now, he actually ended up using the circular saw to basically cut out the notch by making a series of small, shallow cuts and then running them through the opposite way to get rid of the chips. And it worked really well both times. See, no screw left behind.
We got them, use them.
Yep.
Honestly, right about there, maybe a little further up.
You want
it like right about there is probably where we would want to stop.
It's like a teeter-totter, essentially.
Again, getting the first one in is the tricky part.
A handrail! A handrail! The end of every project is testing it to make sure it works correctly, and I'm so glad that we tested this one, because as it turns out, even though that piece of wood that was up there behind the door frame felt really sturdy when we just tugged on it, It turns out that when you're actually putting the whole weight of a human person on it going up and down the stairs, it was very, very wiggly. This board, as it turns out, is not actually anchored in anything, at least not up top. So what we're going to try to do is take the board that Dad cut this down from and basically extend the board all the way over to where we know there's a stud there. It should be less wiggly, is the theory.
Pretty much there.
Well, as long as it stops me from falling over with the laundry, we're good to go.
That
looks much sturdier.
Yeah.
That is the final double-decker stair railing. And it is still wiggly on this end, but it's so much because it's anchored in the stud on that end. This is so much sturdier. Yes, 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 yes. And now we're on to Dad Day's Day 1, Project 2, which is replacing the static mailbox post with one that swings. But Felicity, I can hear you asking, why is this project necessary? I see a perfectly functional 4x4 post with a decently functional mailbox on it. Well, let me take you back to January to explain why this project is really high up on the Dad Dies priority list. Well, this is not good. This must have happened overnight because it was intact yesterday. We got snow overnight. I don't understand. The plows have been coming by all winter. Did one of them just veer a little too close? We never did find out what happened to the mailbox. However, it meant that we had to have the mail held at the local post office, which was inconvenient because the post office is only open from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m., Monday through Friday, and I think until noon maybe on Saturday. Peter is not a morning person, and so finding a morning when Peter was up and about and able to go get our mail was something of a challenge. However, while he was in line one day at the post office, Peter was talking to the people around him about why he was there, and the gentleman behind him in line used to work for the county highway maintenance department. And although we had been told that the county does not replace mailboxes, because this section of 414 is plowed by the county, not a local municipality, the county would replace mailboxes. So the gentleman gave Peter the name of the person to call and the phone number to call at the transportation office. Peter called, and a few days later, the crew happened to be out in the area doing some tree removal down the road from us, and they came and replaced the box. So that was pretty great. Still, we need to replace it with something that is more snowplow proof.
Bottom of the mailbox, 40 to 46 inches.
Oh, okay. I wrote the road service.
Inches is generally preferred.
Okay.
42 is preferred.
Closer. At least the good stuff. While I was in working on the fire, Dad used some ratchet straps and a 2x4 to create a lever to get our base up high enough out of the ground. There's a smart brain behind that handsome face. The whole package. Practical problem solving. Sense of humor. So what happens with that steel cable that was in there?
It's just a weight that goes down inside the tube, and supposedly the weight brings the...
I see. Okay, so that's what brings it back to where it should be, neutral. Okay. He's beauty and he's grace. He's bringing the new mailbox to its place. Because as you guys can see, the one that we inherited is looking a little worse for the wear around the edges, and that's true before it got knocked off the post. It was not in great shape. And now we have a brand new one. So this is the magic plate that Dad made with these elevator bolts.
I don't know, do you want to talk about those?
If you want to describe them, yeah.
Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Elevator bolts are with the shoulder underneath and threads on the other side. What I did with this base plate is I took an auger bit and cut a little relief here for these bolts to go through. When you put these on, your mailbox then mounts to this, and there's no screws poking up inside your mailbox.
Which is awesome. I can't believe they don't come that way naturally. Why would you want a screw poking up in the middle of your mailbox? Look at that nice flat shelf. Almost seems a shame to put a mailbox on it. It's so cute. New mailbox going into place. Okay, so one last exciting piece of the puzzle, and that is to get the wood post mailbox out. And what Dad's going to do is pull up, put a ratchet strap around it, see if we can pull it out. He was rocking it, and it's pretty loose because the ground is really, really wet, but not loose enough for person weight to be enough. So we will use tools because that is what humans are for. And to what? Oh, I see. Oh, there's a ratchet strap attachment.
Well, this is the actual ratchet.
Ah. It's already starting to lean. She's supposed to be in there with concrete, but I don't see any concrete. Oh, here. Yeah, there's a chunk here. Yet another advantage of the ground being so soft is that we didn't even need tools to pull this out, just pure muscle. And once we had the two halves out, we decided the best thing to do was just to leave them in the hole temporarily until we can fill the hole in with dirt. One of the traits I get from my dad is wanting to save and reuse anything that you can find. And since this timber has only been outside for a year and a half and is still in really good condition, Dad very kindly offered to take apart the old wood mailbox post and remove all the nails and screws, etc., so we could use it going forward. Unfortunately, it was not as easy a project as it sounds. Some of the screws came out quite smoothly, but some of them required quite a lot of effort. And in fact, because it was James, our wonderful contractor who didn't know what he was doing, who built it, Dad had to change the bits several times because there were different types of screw heads used in the construction of this post. Between the basement stair rail this morning and the mailbox this afternoon, it's been a pretty full-on day. These two projects were at the absolute top of our wish list, and getting them done on day ones means the rest of the week is free for Dad's favorite thing, which is outdoor yard maintenance. And we'll tackle that tomorrow. Good morning, friends. It is Dad Days 2. It is Sunday. It is the first of 2 gloriously sunny, not rainy days. So the focus for the next 2 days is outside work. There are a number of things that need to be done. This tree, which Dad started taking down last fall, needs to come down to where that notch is. We're renting a wood splitter on Tuesday morning, which is 2 days from now. And so the idea is to prep that whole remaining pile of the maple tree we had taken down and have that ready so that when the splitter comes, we can make the most efficient use of the splitter. So having scavenged what could be scavenged from the top of the downed maple, we now make our approach to this tree and perhaps the 2 that are growing up into the power line. So here we are at the end of day 2, a very successful day. The tree is down, cut up. The pieces that were small enough to be cut into firewood are there. I just need to move them over onto the rack. And then everything else is stacked here ready for the splitter on Tuesday. Dad used the cart. He tipped it on that end, and then rolled these in there and then wheeled them down. I was very impressed with that ingenuity. So Dad days 3. Dad has been out doing some more weed whacking and yard cleanup and junk pile consolidation. The plan was to rent the log splitter tomorrow, but unfortunately the log splitter was already claimed by someone else, so we are revising our plan. And since it is happily now light until 8 o'clock and it is such a beautiful day, Dad went down and got the log splitter and will be using it shortly. This log splitter is special because it has a lift on the end, so it helps you lift up heavy blocks. As you might be able to see, we have quite a lot of tree trunk that is super heavy, so we're hoping this does a good job for us. Dad's been at it for an hour and a half, maybe about an hour. The pile groweth. Oop, down it goes. And up it goes. Just splits it right down the middle. Oh, you can go either direction. Well, that's handy. That beautiful pile. Imagine it. Imagine it. You'd have thought we didn't have a cord of wood out here. I don't know. We might not. A cord of wood will be up to basically where the white part starts, so guess we'll find out. Good morning, folks, and welcome to Dad Day 4. The pile on the right there is what he split yesterday, which is awesome, and then he's preparing and stacking that giant mess of stuff behind him for this afternoon's adventures. So a bit of a snag in the afternoon plans. The magical log splitter with the lift gate has stopped working. Dad thinks there's a jam in the fuel line. So it is unfortunately the only version of the splitter with the lift they have at the rental place. So he's going to take it back because there's no point in having it here if it's not working, and see if maybe it's a quick fix or if we can get the one without the lift. 4 o'clock on Dad Days 4. We have replaced the non-functioning splitter with the lift, the functioning splitter without the lift. And as soon as I'm done filming, I'm going to apply myself to the task of moving all of this onto the rack. Well, that's it for the log splitter for today. Dad's pack is done. I have a huge pile of wood to move. As you can see, I've already started moving onto the deck. And we have half a cord already stacked, so I'm thinking that I may be more correct than Dad. My guess was a cord. His was half to 3/4. We have a couple things that need to be cut, like this is too long, so we need to be cut in half before it's split. You can see we still have some of the really big trunks, because the plan was to use the lift on the other log splitter and lift those up because those are ridiculously heavy. So we may or may not get to those on this trip. But It certainly looks much better in here. It looks like organized chaos, as opposed to a giant pile of stuff. Do you need a hand, or are you okay?
I might have to have you give me a hand so it doesn't roll down the...
Yeah, let's not have it roll over you. That would be bad. Let me put this down. So I'm taking a break for dinner, and if I don't come back out, I want to document what was done today. So the bottom two rows, where those white rounds are facing us, was basically all that was here. There was a little bit of a third row on top. It's much, much easier to stack the wood when it is all more or less the same length. So I've got a pile here of things that are slightly smaller, and then slightly smaller still, and then I've got a pile of like kindling size things, and I've got a small pile over there as well. There's still quite a lot left to stack. I would like to tell you that I'm going to do that tonight, but I do not know if that is possible. Welcome to Dad Days 5. It was supposed to be raining today, but it's not, and so since Dad's favorite place to be is outside, he's continuing to do some work. As you can see, he weed whacked. So when the guy was here, our neighbor was here and mowed, he mowed pretty much down to this line here. So Dad has weed whacked all the way into there, and he's now cleaning up. There's quite a lot of down limbs and stuff from this tree from the winter storms that we had, so he's in cleaning up and bringing the brush down, taking off dead limbs, that kind of stuff. This is his favorite thing. He loves being out. He fixed the doorknob on the front door earlier today and has been doing some chainsaw work and some weed whacking. That was a tree about up to here, and Dad just cut it off because there's really not a great place for it to grow up in there, and it opens up the understory a bit more. It did pour down rain not long after Dad cut the tree down, which allowed us to go for ice cream, which was fantastic. And Dad was able to get outside the next day as well and do some weed whacking, etc. I wasn't able to film that because I was inside with meetings all day. The last Dad Day was meant to be wood chipping day, but alas, the wood chipper was broken, so it ended up being a day of rest. Peter and I want to say a huge thank you to my parents for making Dad Days possible. My dad, obviously, for bringing the tools and the knowledge and the equipment and driving all this way, but my mother as well. She helps with the logistics and she helps with the financial side of things, and we're so grateful every time we go to that mailbox and know that it will survive the snowplows in the fall and that it's not rusting in the back and it's not a constant reminder of something that's going to fall apart at some point in the near future and needs fixing. It just feels so good to have that sorted. And then, of course, every time I see the wood on the wood stack, I think this is the dream. The dream is to harvest the firewood from our own property. And a lot of days that dream feels very, very far away. And so having that wood here and having had my dad here to both do it and then show us how to use the log splitter has been absolutely huge. So thank you, Mom and Dad. Peter and I cannot express how much we appreciate it. And on that note, I will just leave a teaser, which is, up until a couple weeks ago, this Dad Days 3 was the only Dad Days planned this for. My dad has some other travel in the fall. And frankly, I mean, while there's always stuff to do around here, we've kind of hit the lowest hanging fruit with Dad Days 1 through 3. However, since returning to Iowa, my dad has acquired a log splitter because they have a dead oak on their property that they are unfortunately having to take down. And my dad has been splitting that oak wood into firewood with the new to him log splitter. So rumors are starting to circulate that there may be a Dad Days 4 in the offing this fall. Stay tuned to watch this space. And with that, I want to say thanks for being here. I really appreciate you, and I'll see you soon in my next video. Bye for now.